So this year was my first real involvement with the nitty-gritty of the budget. This year I got to be a part of the discussion at the board level, and it was really neat to see how they wrestled with that and the level of faith and trust that each individual person there had too. We all believe that God is going to pull this through for us. But also if you look at the giving that came in for 2017, we're almost there already. And being like a type A person that I am, I thought I would worry a little more, or like, oh, we had a low week, where's the money going to come in? But it always comes in, always. The staff, they're all very frugal when they can be. Nobody's just outrageously spending money just to spend money. Like, it is all necessary to fulfill the ministry. Yeah, to hear the hearts of each staff member was a neat thing for me this year. It makes the numbers more real rather than just numbers, like that I'm putting in a bill and I'm putting in a credit card statement. Like, now I can see like what it is being used for and I understand a little better. It has to be that balance of realism, like in the moment, what do we actually need to pay the bills and run the building versus, yeah, what vision casting do we have for the future and growth. About half of our giving comes in through the Vanco, the online portal. It's really grown just in consistency. People that set it up to give every month, so they don't have to be in the building to give. You're away on vacation, your giving still comes out, your tithe still comes out. The church doesn't see the dips in the summer that we used to, and I think that has been a huge help. It's amazing for me to see week after week God's faithfulness and the faithfulness of His people. It's a really humbling experience for me to have that unique position to see that.
So when we came here, we found that there was a very openness to, you want to minister in this area? Try it. I mean, Pastor Terry just said it this past week. You've got something you want to do? We will enable you, be right behind you. If you fail, so you fail, so what? And so we're very encouraged by that. For 30 years, I worked diligently and at the job that I was at. And I was approaching retirement age, and I decided, I want to try something different. I want to do something different. You know, God's blessed me with some talents. And so I'm more of a hands-on guy than I am a desk guy. I always hated to be behind the desk. A gentleman approached me one Sunday morning last fall and said, hey, would you be interested in being the custodian for our church? We were talking about it, and your name came up as somebody that we might be looking for. I thought about it a while, and God, if you want this to happen, make it so. So I approached it that way. I never thought about being a custodian. Yeah, I've always thought about, you know, how can I help the church? How can I be of service to the church? But this works perfectly into where I am right now. My identity is changing. It's not so important what you've done or the positions you've had. What's important is what you're becoming. And I've just left my job, who I was, that's who I was. Okay, what am I becoming now? So I call this a God event, you know, I really do. I don't think it's happenstance. You know, people think about, okay, you're gonna be cleaning toilets, okay. Yeah, but I'm gonna be doing a whole lot of other things. And in my way, this is a support for the rest of the staff and for the congregation. I wanna make this building the best shape that it possibly can be. Everybody said that I'll be their new favorite person in the buildings.
We're seeing a lot of kids coming through our doors. Our kids ministry on Sunday morning has potential to change lives. How do we get first-time visitors to become regular attenders? Maria and I took a lot of time and looked at what I do and what she does and what were we missing. And we felt one of our big areas was connecting with new families. So how do we get those people to feel comfortable with our ministry, to introduce them to our ministry, and to move them from a first-time visitor to a regular attender? We realized it would be really good to have somebody working with us and doing that. And we found that in Jill Starr.
So my new job is to fill the gap between people who are new to Encounter and getting them settled and plugged into where their kids will be plugged in, and as I see it, also with other families and parents, and kind of getting involved in Kids Connection as a whole. I also think it's getting to know the parents a little bit, because it's a lot easier to slip in and out of church without anybody knowing you when you don't have kids. And when you have kids, like, they can't get in and out as easy without us meeting them and actually getting to know them. I think everybody wants that, but I also think sometimes it's hard to be the initiator. Like, I can jump in and get to know them a little bit, get to know their backstory, why they're here at Encounter, because they have to talk to so many people to drop their kids off before they can even get over to the service. There were churches that we visited, we had to sign our kids in, and we heard nothing. And then we landed here and we got at least 2 emails, one from, I think, the church in general, and one from Kids Connection, and a card in the mail. And that was interesting to us and said a lot about the church. I'm excited to help families get plugged in, especially a lot of parents prioritize even their kids being comfortable and in community before they worry about themselves. If you can help get kids connected and comfortable here, it will keep parents coming back here too. This is a hard thing, this trying to figure out how to raise kids and just being so busy, and we're doing a lot that was not modeled for us, like how to raise kids in this world of technology and this pace of life. And we're trying to figure out how to parent, we're the first group of parents to parent with social media all the time, and then to raise kids who are growing up with it. And so it's been really valuable to us to connect with other families here. We're in this, we're trying to figure out how to raise our kids to love Jesus and love other people. And so sometimes you just need those people to walk alongside you.
From the get-go with Amanda, she was using some terminology that was a little maybe weird. When Ted was still interning, she liked to use the phrase Steve, now you're just dating Ted right now. You're trying to figure out whether or not he fits. And as a dude, I'm just straight up weird, right? This is not cool. Yeah. Ted's a great fit. We really work well together. He's got a little more eye to some of the details than I do, where I'm kind of pie in the sky, getting things for the future. What are we trying to big picture accomplish? We're hitting this town pretty hard. It's awesome, and there's just more stuff to come. It's meeting an immediate need, it's allowing us to dream, and it's giving us a better presence in the community.
There was something quite special about this church, and I wouldn't say that if I didn't actually believe it. It's a healthy church, it's a growing church. I've been a part of BIC churches in the past. That was my home church, was Lancaster BIC. And so I'm very familiar with the BIC culture, with the history of it. Youth ministry is kind of right in my sweet spot with my experience. Leadership, that's what I'm studying in seminary. Kind of all of that just fit together really well into what the church needed and what I was able to bring. Middle school is just a critically important time. You are developing, mentally, emotionally, physically. You're going through all of these changes. It's a very confusing time. You're looking forward to high school, but you're also starting to develop your own thoughts, your own processes. You're starting to, pay attention to what's happening in the world just a little bit more and see things and develop your own kind of worldview. How that starts really plays a big deal into how it continues. It's so much fun to be able to step into a role like this, into a church like this, to be able to step into a situation and just start building relationship. Just to be able to start loving on them, to start being able to, be a good role model, and just to be able to connect with these kids and show them that there are people that love them and care about them, and obviously point them towards Jesus. All of those things kind of mixed together. My title is middle school pastor, but I get to work with adults too. I get to help encourage them and motivate them and help them to grow. I've had the opportunity, amazing, unique opportunity to be able to be in the middle school some, just connecting with some of the kids, just being a positive role model, or being at the lunchroom. That itself is a huge eye-opener to how many 7th and 8th graders there are in this area. Just 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in one school. There's so much potential for this church. It's so encouraging to see where we're at, but it's also really, really motivating to see, what else there is for us to do.
Or my call to ministry. I've never known that apart from Encounter Church. I started in college as an intern, various different levels. I've been around the block doing worship stuff, doing youth, etc., etc. The catalyst for me in a lot of ways was the investment made in me at a personal level by people at this church. You know, I was just I was an idiot, you know what I mean? I was Terry, for one, investing in me, but so many people at this church that invested in me personally. I think that's a huge factor in why I'm still here. It's all just wrapped up in this. So now it's full circle, and it's a crazy journey to think back on it, to now recognize a call. There was a good lining up of what I felt called to do and what Amanda and others here were seeing in me in terms of the fit. Leading the missions team would be a big part of that. So I'm inheriting all the relationships we have with missionaries, all the trips we do throughout the year, all the local people we partner with. I feel called, for better or for worse, to Christians, to making disciples out of Christians, especially to taking that step of getting active, of like, all right, so you're here, you're in this, you're committed, you're part of this church, like, now what are you doing? How are you taking that back out? And so we're partnering with all these different missionaries and organizations and places locally and abroad. How do those become opportunities for all of us in the church to be serving? You know, how do we become disciples? How are we growing into people that are just naturally going to do that? You know what I mean? And then like the missions team will be kind of creating the pathways for that to happen, but growth groups will be where we are developing people. We've seen over the past number of years God like moving in this place. We've seen the Spirit doing things, and we've been trying to keep up with that, and we all will continue to be trying to keep up with that. This is going to continue to be a fast-moving train. We want to lay a couple more tracks down ahead of time.
We are very proud of our church leadership. They are really working hard to see where we need to go, so that we're not playing catch up. We really believe that Jesus is sending them to us.
When those kids walk through those doors, will we be ready for them? Will we be able to love on them and teach them about God's love? Because they will come.
When you're in a place for long enough, you get to see some things that transience doesn't give you. You get to see that full arc of seeds you planted.
I step back a little bit now when I work with these people that were in 8th, 9th grade when I started getting involved in this church, to now they're leading ministries. I don't know, it's cool that this is a place where that can happen, and it does happen. I'm just like excited.
Palmyra is not this overly massive area. We can definitely be relational. We can be very, very practical in who we help, you know, what we're able to offer them. Yeah, it's not this impossible thing. We can change Palmyra. That's a huge win.